We have a number of emerging filmmakers that are members of First Weekend Club. Any words of advice that you would give to somebody that is or is it a big long list?
Yeah, but this film have been done with my own picture camera and my laptop on hotel's room, and so for me it's do everything for starting in for me, it's do your image, your editing, and everything you can.
Like do it all yourself. You mean like do it everything?
I've done the image and the editing and with help, but I think it's the best way to develop your vision of doing film. After that, you can say, okay, you can how do you say? You can work with people.
And so be clear on your vision first, and then you can direct somebody else.
Making it.
Find your language.
If you do everything, you will find your language. If you are, but for me, it's the.
If you embrace the machine right away, if you start and say, oh, a film that has to be this, it has to be this guy who's a special of this, and it's this guy that does that, then you're just one of the guys there. And but as he says, he's a man of many trades. He does everything himself and all that. So of course I've learned a lot from him doing this. So he's not just a good storyteller and filmmaker. He's also a good editor. He's a good film effect guy, or whatever. And it gives it's a peculiar look. Because it's so that's why any young director that wants to start has to master all the crafts, I think, understand exactly what they're about and what role they play. And then after that you could decide that you'll find a better cameraman than you or a better editor than you. But
you need to know it. You need to know all aspects of it.
You have to know what the craft is about.
I would just advise them to make a lot of short films. Even if they're bad, just throw it in the garbage if they're bad. Make sure that you learn. You have a vision for yourself, and usually making a feature film before you're 30 years old is a bit, of course you can do it, but just take the time, make a lot of short films. I made like 15, 20 before making my first feature. So just shoot. Don't wait for money and wait for your big sci-fi saga when you're 25 years old. Just shoot with your friends and
a little camera and a couple friends.
Get experience.
Sure. Well, just on the tip of nothing is impossible, I think sometimes it's interpreted as a really earnest thing, like you can do it. It's not so much that, it's more that when you start something, if you have the passion to do it, something's going to come out of it. So nothing happening if you take action is impossible. That's what I kind of mean by that. It has two meanings, but it's not so much, it's I guess on some days it can be the rah-rah thing, but it's more that
if you're driven and you want something to come together, you can make it happen.
Yeah, and you just have to start.
And don't give up.
Yeah, and see it through. Or sometimes things don't necessarily have to be seen through. Maybe the experience is just in starting them and you benefit from that, and sometimes things just have to be left. Like you have to know when to hold on to things, you have to know when to let go of things also. But just that by creating, the act of creating is such a big, I think, leap of faith unto itself that something is going to come of it. So nothing is impossible.
Any words of wisdom that you can offer writers when they're trying to get their projects into the hands of a producer?
Determination. Make sure, though, when you come to a producer who is able to help trigger some financing, that you have your best foot forward. Don't hand them something that you think is almost there or maybe there, and just be clear about your story and how you would be able to pitch it and have a good understanding of it.
Oh, well, persistence. Believe in your project. Like believe. Yeah. You got to believe. You got to also believe and know if it's not going to happen, when to move to the next thing.
So when do you give up? I mean,
that's a tough one because I don't like to give up, right? I mean, in my movies or the things that I've made, but they were close sometimes. I think if you feel that when you have champions that really get behind your work or believe in you, I really think that's you gotta keep that in the back of your head and also you and have confidence to try and move it forwards. I think it's hard to. I think that's one of the hardest things is to drop a project per se as a producer or as a writer director, like to move on to the next script maybe. It's tough. I think that's one of the biggest challenges universally.
If you believe in what you're doing, no matter how many years, it will happen.
Probably the hardest thing is having the ability to trust your judgment towards what you think is going to be a successful project.
believe in yourself and don't let
Believe in
others.
yourself is mandatory because nobody
Right.
else will believe in you.
Right, or believe in your project.
Believe in your project, believe in your team,
Yes, that's key.
but really trusting your judgment, which is hard.
Ooh, words of wisdom. Start with shorts, I think, is a great method. You can fine-tune your skills, fine-tune your storytelling sense, and obviously develop relationships with creative people in all the departments that you want to work with on features, because you're going to need that kind of relationship for the future. And believe in your idea, and choose that first feature idea really wisely, because it's going to be one that you're going to have to put a lot of time into, but it is so rewarding at the end of the day when you can have your film screened at a festival or to any audience. I think if you put the time into it, it's the most rewarding experience. So go for it.
Never lose sight of the fact you're doing this because you love it and because you have a story to tell.
That's number one.
Storytelling is the oldest profession in the world. Some argue it's something else, but actually storytelling is. I think people have always told stories. It's a big part of our human condition. And this is now the 21st century way of how we tell those stories. And you gotta love what you do, and you have to always be a storyteller. Don't get lost in the numbers and.
Right. It's not about the numbers,
Not
although
about
the numbers help.
So show up at Canadian movies and help us with our numbers.
Excellent note to end on.